Investigation, a matter of credibility. The debate goes on about who was paying attention. We'll take a closer look tonight at how the latest gas prices are affecting consumer spending and education, as well as driving. And fighting the war to build the peace. First the boy and then the man. He joined the Guard and he died in Iraq.
From ABC News, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Reporting tonight from Washington.
Good evening, everyone. We begin again tonight with Iraq. The most powerful military force in the world is now trying to figure out what to do next about the handful of people who killed 4 Americans yesterday in the city of Fallujah. The U.S. has arrested thousands of Iraqis since it has occupied the country, but there's not been, as far as we know, any public punishment for someone who has killed an American. We start off at the Pentagon. ABC's Martha Raddatz is there as always. Martha, this is a new challenge.
It certainly is, Peter, and all afternoon the head of Central Command, General John Abizaid, has been meeting with Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld here at the Pentagon. A major topic of discussion, what to do about Fallujah.
Again today, Fallujah was the scene of violence, a roadside bomb wounding 3 American troops on a road just outside the city. The 3 were quickly evacuated. Local Iraqis set their abandoned Humvee on fire. As for yesterday's murder of the American contractors, the response thus far has just been to set up checkpoints around the city, but top U.S. military and civilian leaders promise more.
4 Americans were attacked and their bodies subjected to barbarous maltreatment. Their deaths will not go unpunished.
Quite simply, we will respond. We are not going to do a pell-mell rush into the city. It's going to be deliberate, it will be precise, and it will be overwhelming.
U.S. Marines now in charge of this region are all based on the outskirts of the city. They were not aware of the attacks until they heard news reports. Because the Marines knew the contractors were already dead, they did not risk going into Fallujah to retrieve them.
There may be ambushes set up. There may be civilians being used as human shields.
The U.S. is confident they know who is responsible for yesterday's attack. They believe it is former regime elements. They are now pressuring local Iraqis to help find them. Officials are also poring over videotapes to help identify those who mutilated the bodies afterwards. The number of attacks against the coalition and Iraqis helping them has been steadily rising in the last few weeks, the first time that has happened since September.
And Peter, ABC News has learned that whatever action is taken in Fallujah will probably happen soon, sometime within the next few days.
Many thanks, Martha. Martha Raddatz over at the Pentagon. Iraq's a big country, complicated one. They've reacted in many different ways to the killings in Fallujah. The flow of information in Iraq is far from perfect or imperfect, and we are constantly reminded of how diverse a country it is. Here's ABC's John Bierman.
On the unusually quiet streets of Fallujah, yesterday's carnage was today's conflict of opinion. For some, the savage attack was a source of satisfaction. The killing, says this man, were retaliation against the Americans' conduct in Fallujah. Others were shocked, offended by the brutal assault on the bodies. In our Islamic religion, he says, such actions are banned. Iraqis, like civilized people anywhere, abhor violence. It is difficult to tell how widespread the reaction was here. About half the people we spoke to in Baghdad today had not seen the video. Only a few of the Iraqi newspapers had graphic photos on the front page. Among those who had seen the pictures, the reaction was mixed. There was disgust. It is not right what the attackers did, he says. There was anger. This is what the Americans deserve. And some of the anger was tempered by reservations. The Americans deserved it, he says, but not in this way. The complicated response we're hearing from many Iraqis reflects the complicated opinion that Iraqis have of the U.S. in general. In our ABC News polling, most Iraqis say they are opposed to the occupation, but they do not want U.S. troops to leave just yet. They worry that without American troops, the country could descend into chaos. After years of fear, what most people want is peace. This father told us when he saw the gruesome attack, he turned off the family television. He did not want his children to see pictures like these. John Berman, ABC News, Baghdad.
The 4 Americans killed yesterday in Fallujah draw attention to something we certainly saw in Iraq, but in many other places as well. A large number of jobs once done by military personnel are now being outsourced and done by civilians. Private companies now get about $100 billion in military business a year. ABC's Jonathan Karl tonight on what that means in terms of efficiency, necessity, and risk.
The 4 private security workers killed in yesterday's grisly attack were all former members of America's elite special forces. 3 were ex-Navy SEALs, 1 a former Army Ranger. All worked for Blackwater USA. Today, the family of Scott Helvenston said he was one of those killed. A former Navy SEAL from Virginia, he had 2 children. He arrived in Iraq just 2 weeks ago. Former Army Ranger Jerry Zovko of Eastlake, Ohio, was also killed yesterday.
He loved the military very much. At the early age, he loved the little green army men. He played with them. Other boys would play with the trucks and cars and bicycles. He would have his little army men to play with.
They were part of the growing ranks of private armies working in some of the world's most dangerous places.
There are people in Iraq with bullseyes painted on them, whether they're in uniform or out of uniform, and the extremists in Iraq are working on them overtime.
Officials at the Pentagon, which is the largest employer of private fighters, say they don't know how many are working in Iraq. But experts estimate there are as many as 15,000 private contractors doing military work there. That's nearly double the entire British force, America's largest coalition partner.
The military has shrunk over the years, so as the force has shrunk, as the budgets have shrunk, it's become cost-effective to contract it out.
These are not the first private soldiers killed in Iraq. The Steel Foundation lost 2 of their workers in a roadside attack outside Baghdad in January. And the Titan Corporation says 13 of its employees in Iraq have been killed. The reliance on private fighters can understate American losses in Iraq. Not only does the military not keep track of the number working there, they say they don't know how many have been killed. Jonathan Karl, ABC News, Washington.
The White House said today that the President's National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice will testify publicly next Thursday before the independent commission investigating the 9/11 attacks. President Bush, as you know, reversed himself earlier in the week after resisting calls for her to appear. And there is some new information today which will likely be a factor in her questioning. ABC's Linda Douglas reports from Capitol Hill.
Condoleezza Rice will be grilled about whether the administration really was focused on fighting al-Qaeda before September 11th. Today, the White House press secretary insisted it was.
The threat from al-Qaeda and terrorism was a high priority for this administration prior to coming into office. It was a threat we took very seriously.
A joint House-Senate Congressional Committee examined that question 2 years ago when it investigated government actions prior to September 11th. The committee's findings support the claim made by former official Richard Clark that efforts to thwart al-Qaeda declined when President Bush first took office. Lawyer Eleanor Hill led the congressional investigation.
There is a conclusion in the report that it appears that there was significant slippage in counterterrorism policy in the period from late 2000 to early 2001.
The White House also insisted today that by September 11, 2001, military plans to attack al-Qaeda were in the works.
There were military options before the president, before September 11th.
Yes, we've made that very clear.
But the report from the Congressional Committee says a top administration official told a different story when he testified 2 years ago. Deputy Defense Secretary Paul Wolfowitz testified that contingency planning for using the military for counterterrorism was in the very most primitive stages before September 11th.
Neither the Clinton administration nor the Bush administration really developed a plan against bin Laden that would have integrated every aspect of American power, including the military power.
Next week, Rice will try to make the case under oath that the Bush White House did have such a plan. Linda Douglas, ABC News, Washington.
Just one other item from the White House tonight. President Bush signed legislation over there today making it a separate federal crime to harm a fetus during an assault on a pregnant woman. The bill's supporters invoked the murder of a pregnant California woman, Lacey Peterson, to build support for the law. Her mother and her stepfather attended today's ceremony, and Mr. Bush said there clearly were 2 deaths in this particular case. When we come back this evening, we'll take a closer look at the ripple effect of rising gas prices, affecting airlines and education, too. In other news tonight, treating patients with the illegal drug ecstasy, why the government is allowing some testing to be done. And at the end of the broadcast tonight, in honor of a soldier who died trying to build the peace.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Prevacid.
In my line of work, pain was part of the job, but heartburn pain was part of my life until I got help from Prevacid. I'm a pretty tough guy, but that fireball would hit me more often than linebackers. I was in great shape. I changed my diet. I had enough chalky tabs to line a field with. Still, the heartburn came back. My trainer and I thought it might be serious, so I finally took a time out to see my doctor. He broke it down like this. 1, I had acid reflux disease. 2, acid causes pain and can lead to damage. And 3, he prescribed Prevacid because it helps prevent acid.
Heartburn pain and damage is caused by acid backing up into the esophagus. But one Prevacid once a day helps prevent the acid, stops the pain, and allows your body to heal.
Now I'm retired, and with Prevacid daily, my heartburn is too.
Prescription Prevacid has a low occurrence of side effects such as diarrhea, abdominal pain, and nausea. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. Ask your doctor for more information and if Prevacid is right for you. Help prevent the acid with Prevacid.
These guys, like family. So when I learned 1 in 3 men faces prostate problems,
he had to switch to One-A-Day Men's.
One-A-Day Men's Health Formula, a complete multivitamin plus lycopene, which Harvard studies have linked to prostate health.
Gotta watch out for my guys.
One-A-Day Men's.
I've lived here all my life. I'm not going anywhere. I've made arrangements for assistance if I need it. I'm a realist. I know I'll be old one day.
Long-term care insurance from Mutual of Omaha. Begin today.
Still taking Claritin? Join the millions of allergy sufferers who've discovered non-drowsy Alavert. Quick-dissolving Alavert starts dissolving the instant it touches your tongue, without water. Wow, it's gone. So you can take Alavert inside, outside, wherever you are. Try non-drowsy 24-hour relief even Claritin can't beat, without a prescription. Quick-dissolving Alavert. Allergy medicine right when you need it, wherever you are.
On Capitol Hill today, there was some pretty forceful talk about the rising cost of gasoline. Congressman Ed Markey of Massachusetts, for one, who's a Democrat, repeatedly asked the Energy Secretary, Spencer Abraham, if President Bush has asked the leaders of the oil-producing nations not to cut production. The Secretary would say only that Mr. Bush passed along his concern about the higher prices. We're going to take a closer look tonight at the risk that rising prices pose to the overall economy. Nationwide, a gallon of gasoline now costs an average of $1.76. These higher prices are having a ripple effect. Here's ABC's Betsy Stark.
Most of the nation's 190 million drivers have no choice about paying record gas prices.
What are you going to do, like walk to work?
Unfortunately, you got to get where you need to go.
Since January, the cost of getting where you need to go has become a lot more expensive. Filling up the most popular SUV has jumped from an average of $33 a tank to more than $39. Economists say that extra $6 is a direct tax on consumers, big enough to eat up the entire $30 billion tax refund payable this spring.
And that means that the consumer spending just won't be quite as strong, and that means the broader economy just won't be quite as strong either.
The strain is evident around the country. Truckers say every extra penny at the pump costs the industry $300 million a year. The airlines tried and failed to pass on higher fuel costs to the flying public. For now, the extra $12 million a day comes off the bottom line.
If things don't change, the major carriers are going to be in dire shape.
Higher gas prices are stretching public school budgets. The city of Chicago says it will cost $2 million more to run its school buses. In San Francisco, the owner of this plumbing company has stopped drawing a paycheck. He says if he tried to pass the cost of fueling 12 trucks to his customers, he might lose them.
I would like to say I see an end in sight, but I don't.
The longer prices stay high, the greater the risk to a fragile economy.
It's very disconcerting to see gasoline prices at a record high, and something everyone sees every single day.
Well, it will be even more disconcerting if the national average price for regular unleaded gets to $2 a gallon, which is where some energy analysts think it is headed this summer. And of course, Peter, that $2 a gallon level has already been breached in many cities around the country.
Many thanks, Betsy Stark, on the gas prices. When we come back this evening, the illegal drug ecstasy. Question, is there a valid medical reason to use it in therapy? The government approves a test.
Oh, hey, hi, I'm Digger. Don't mind me, I'm just a dermatophyte. You know, a nail infection. All I want is to get in here and live under your nail. You can't get me with clippers or those surface treatments you try on your own. I'm in too deep in your nail bed. I'll make myself comfortable, invite a few friends. Settle in.
Do you have thick, discolored, or flaky nails? Millions of people do. It may be caused by an active live infection. That's why you should ask your doctor about prescription-only Lamisil. Unlike surface treatments, Lamisil is a pill that works through the bloodstream to target and attack the infection at its source, underneath the nail. In fact, you can start to see clearer, healthier nails in just 3 months. Lamisil isn't for people with liver or kidney problems. In rare cases, serious side effects in the liver or serious skin reactions have occurred, so your doctor may do a simple blood test. Other side effects, including headache, diarrhea, indigestion, and rash, were generally mild. Ask your doctor about Lamisil. Once daily Lamisil tablets. Get your nail infection where it grows.
The thrill of white-knuckle driving obviously came from someone with white knuckles.
Great day, let's bring her in.
Formula One-inspired Michelin Pilot Series high-performance tires.
Or not.
Michelin, because so much performance is riding on your tires.
When you have a gentle laxative you can trust, it's easy to relax. No worrying when, where, or how it will work. Dulcolax tablets are gentle enough for sensitive stomachs, yet strong enough for complete relief. That's why more doctors recommend Dulcolax than any other overnight laxative. And now, when you need overnight relief in a stomach-soothing liquid, there's new Dulcolax Milk of Magnesia. So relax. Trust Dulcolax. For gentle, overnight relief, guaranteed.
When you're passionate about something, you never quit. Your multivitamin? Centrum Silver with lycopene, an ingredient in tomatoes that science suggests may help reduce the risk of heart disease. Put your heart into what you love. Centrum Silver with lycopene.
What's the word on the Folgers canister?
Every time you opened it, you got a good whiff. I can do this one-handed.
Folgers Aroma Seal plastic canister.
It's going to help keep it fresh. Lightweight, less messy. This is terrific. Wow, finally.
Tomorrow, the medical experiment that turned into a miracle treatment. Plus, what's it take to be chosen World News Tonight's Person of the Week? Tomorrow on World News Tonight.
Authorities in several states today are going through a huge amount of evidence seized yesterday when the government says it broke up a multi-million-dollar ring selling ecstasy into the United States. One of the largest ecstasy busts ever involved millions and millions of pills, more than 100 people arrested. While the government is expending significant resources trying to combat the ecstasy trade, in South Carolina, researchers are using ecstasy in a new study. Here's ABC's Bob Woodruff.
Americans take hundreds of millions of doses of ecstasy every year. But before ecstasy was made illegal, psychotherapists were giving the drug to patients because they said it was an amazingly effective therapeutic tool. When the federal government outlawed the drug in 1985, it said ecstasy had no accepted medical use. Which is why what is happening in this South Carolina laboratory is so interesting. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, the U.S. government has authorized a human study, allowing patients to take ecstasy under a doctor's direction for post-traumatic stress disorder.
It'll be people who have crime-related post-traumatic stress disorder. It could be a terrorist event, it could be childhood sexual abuse, rape, physical assault, or law enforcement people in violent incidents.
The fact is, by the late 1970s, a small group of psychiatrists had already discovered that the drug's effect on the brain chemical serotonin, which regulates mood, could help certain patients open up and confront their problems. Kathy Tam was one of them. In 1983, she was raped and tortured.
He took my life away. He absolutely took my life away.
And it was only through ecstasy-assisted therapy that she was able to emotionally recover.
I cannot believe that this isn't available to people in the way that I was benefited.
Federal authorities insist that ecstasy is still dangerous, and there are public health campaigns against it.
The death of Daniel C. Hurd is due to acute drug intoxication.
But the notion that ecstasy has no medical use is now officially in dispute. Acknowledgement that the total ban on ecstasy 19 years ago may have been an overreaction. Bob Woodruff, ABC News, New York.
Later this evening, in fact, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, we're going to have an hour-long program on ecstasy called Ecstasy Rising, much more about the popularity of this drug and what happened when the government exaggerated the dangers of it. When we come back on this broadcast, honoring a soldier who did not come home from Iraq.
I had lost the will to shop.
No thrill, no will.
Jerry said that I needed to carpe diem. That's seize the deal.
It's Greek. Thing.
I walked into Big Lots, and there I saw it. This $50 even flow baby monitor for $20. I seized it. I was seizing all day. Greatest day of my life. You gotta grab for the closeout, and then pay, and then leave.
Big Lots. Brand names, closeout prices, happy people.
Now I can carpe diem with the best of them.
That's me with his whole family.
So you on a farm?
Yeah. Imagine with my allergy.
Wanna go where you wanna go. Do what you want to.
This is Trisha.
There's a different way to treat seasonal allergies. Singulair, the only seasonal allergy medicine that specifically blocks leukotrienes, an underlying cause of allergy symptoms. It's a once-a-day tablet that helps relieve a broad range of symptoms for a full 24 hours.
Yeah.
Side effects are generally mild and vary by age and may include headache, ear infection, sore throat, and upper respiratory infection. Ask your doctor about Singulair.
Morning.
Good morning. You know, I think I did just fine.
Singulair, a different way to treat seasonal allergies.
Sorry to interrupt, but did you know nearly 2 out of 3 adults aren't getting enough fiber? Hey, you might be the 2. People don't eat these things in real life, do they? You're a doctor. Fiber. Does it have to taste bad? Fiber needn't be like this! This is what you want, my friend. Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats, crunchy, sweet, which you already seem to have noticed. In one serving, almost 25% of the fiber you need in a day. Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. Fiber. Think more fiber could have prevented it? It's a broken foot.
We brought new Hidden Valley Spicy Ranch to the land of spicy.
Me encanta este aderezo, sabe sabor a chiles, chiles sabrosos y suaves, deliciosos, y un poquito picante, como a mí me gusta.
Es mero mero, es ranch verdadero, se nota que rico, es espeso, cremoso, picoso.
Cool ranch with a little kick from Hidden Valley.
Ann Kurtzman is a RE/MAX agent. She spends most of her time selling homes. And not much time on anything else. That's why nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
I'm Paul Lindman. Next on the Northwest Only All Local newscast, their run from the law comes to an end. How 2 young and dangerous escapees were finally caught. Plus, take a look at this mess. A bridge collapses under the weight of a crane. What crews had to do to get it off. Those stories, plus all the day's local news next.
He's the child who survived being clenched in the jaws of a 300-pound gorilla. And tomorrow, for the first time, you'll meet this brave little boy. Only on Good Morning America.
Just a brief review of our main story. U.S. officials are vowing to punish those who killed and mutilated 4 American civilians in the Iraqi city of Fallujah. They have not, to the best of our knowledge, figured out precisely what to do. Finally tonight, our occasional series to acknowledge some of the American men and women who've gone to serve in Iraq and not returned. 598 men and women in the armed forces have died since the war began. Specialist Chris Taylor of the Alabama National Guard was killed on the 16th of February. It was a Monday. A bomb exploded as his convoy drove past. Here's ABC's Aaron Hayes.
His nickname was Big T, 6.5 feet tall. Chris Taylor looked intimidating. But inside that huge frame was a generous, happy soul, a jester, his brothers say, who carried that spirit to Iraq.
Well, I heard a lot of
make
practical jokes he did over there
right,
from his friends.
pranks and practical jokes, things just to, you know, make people laugh, put a smile on their face. He liked people to be happy and spirits lifted.
Big T.
From an early age, looking out for everybody else.
If you ever needed a hand, he was there to give you a hand. Sure, he'd give you a shirt off his back.
In his teens, Chris decided he needed to at least look tough and found his place at the local gym.
He was 14 years old, and he was tall and skinny and weak.
A joy, they say, to watch the boy grow into a man.
If you weren't motivated, he would motivate you. He'd come in the door and growl. Yes. He was amazing.
When he joined the National Guard right out of high school, his family, with whom he was close, was surprised until he started volunteering for humanitarian missions, Honduras, after Hurricane Mitch.
You know, we didn't want him to do this, but we knew that this is what he loved, you know. Seems like everything he wanted to do was just always help somebody.
His letters from Iraq spoke little of the troubles and more about his buddies and the Iraqi children who loved to play with Big T.
If he could figure out a way to make them smile and joke or play with them, that's the way Chris was. Kind of like watching a father with his children.
The news of Chris's death came first to the Alabama docks, where Chris, between deployments, had happily worked with his dad.
2 Army officers came to where I work at. The secretary regrets to inform you, and I think that's about as far as I got. And,
They sent home his dog tags with the cross he always wore. He believed his was a dual mission, fighting a war to build a peace.
it was done for love, you know, and love for a lot of things. Love for family, love for country, love for the people around him.
Words any soldier would be proud to hear. Aaron Hayes, ABC News, Kentwood, Louisiana.
That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Thank you for joining us. Good night from Washington.
For the latest video highlights, log on to America Online. Keyword ABC News. Or go to abcnews.com.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. Tonight, you've heard so much about ecstasy. No drug has ever spread faster. But are brain damage, even death, real risks as the government warns? Now, finally, what you haven't heard, what the government hasn't told you. Peter Jennings reporting, ecstasy rising, tonight.
Now on K2 News at 6:30, police finally catch up to 2 teenage escapees from Salem, where they were found and what authorities had to do to arrest them. Plus, incredible pictures from Clackamas after a bridge collapses under the weight of a crane, what crews are now trying to do to get the crane off. And many of us do it, complain about the high gas prices, but despite the cost, you might be surprised at how much gas we use compared to Californians.
Live from K2, the Northwest only all-local 6:30 newscast with Steve Dunn, Paul Lindman, and exclusive microcast weather with Rod Hill. K2 and you, the spirit of the Northwest.
Good evening. Glad you're with us, everybody. And first on 2, they got away once from the Hillcrest Youth Facility, and they almost eluded police again.
This time, the 2 young escapees led police on a 45-mile car chase through 3 Idaho counties this morning before finally being caught just west of Boise. K2's Amy Clark has the story.
It took 6 law enforcement agencies.
They're doing their best to get away.
And a 45-mile long chase.
At times, they were getting up to 60, 70 miles an hour.
to finally catch up with 20-year-old Peter LaChapelle and 16-year-old Aaron Keith Pierce.
Years.